What's going on YouTube? Gary here, gzduel, here to bring you guys another segment of Hidden Trumps. But for this segment, we're doing something a bit different because instead of talking about one card that deals with like a lot of archetypes, we're going to talk about one archetype and a lot of cards that deal with that archetype. So what I mean is, we're going to talk about Elemental Dragons today, so the really overpowered broken deck that is going to come out after Lord of Tachyon Galaxy, and we're going to talk about all of the cards that will potentially hurt the deck, so you can side them and win your matches, because it's actually very hard to win against them. So the cards we're talking about are divided into two sets right here. The sets in the main deck are going to be cards that prevent them from getting advantage, and the set in the side deck are going to be the cards that you play after they've got their advantage and how you play out of their advantage or out of their really good setup. So the really good setup we're going to talk about today, of course, is what the Incarnate Dragons can do, and it's Drago Sack, so this monster plus Light and Darkness Dragon. So they can go first turn, overlay two level 7 dragons, and then detach one Exceed material from the Drago Sack in order to get 2 tokens, and then they tribute the 2 tokens in order to summon Light and Darkness Dragon. At that point during your turn, whatever effects you activate will be negated for the Light and Darkness Dragon, so you might lose a lot of advantage if you don't have these side deck answers. So in order to beat this setup, you can beat it in 2 ways. You can prevent it from happening, or you can try to get out of it once it happens. So we're going to talk about the first set. Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is actually pretty good against Incarnate Dragons. You might not think so because, you know, they have effects activated in the hand, in the graveyard, and in the banished zone. But the effect that actually matters in this setup is the Drago Sack effect. The Drago Sack effect is detach 1 Exceed material in order to summon 2 tokens, right? Once that happens, you can chain Veiler. They won't get the 2 tokens, so they won't have the 2 tokens necessary in order to tribute for the Light and Darkness Dragon. And if they can't tribute for Light and Darkness Dragon, they will only have 1 Drago Sack on the field with no tokens to protect it. So during your turn, you can destroy it by battle, you can destroy it by card effects. It no longer protects itself. So Veiler is actually pretty good. Also, Prohibition is pretty good because you can just call, you play Prohibition and you can just call Drago Sack. And once you call Drago Sack, even if they get the level 7 monsters, even if they try to get the overlay, they can't go for Drago Sack. And if they don't go for Drago Sack, it's actually very hard to play out of the setup because they won't be able to get the 2 tokens. If they want to tribute for Light and Darkness Dragon, they'll have to waste the 2 dragons that they special summon. But keep in mind, because Prohibition is a continuous trap card, continuous spell card on the field, it will not be able to, like, you know, withstand MSTs, and it will not be able to stand Blaster's effect, which, you know, Blaster discarding 1 other fire monster can destroy 1 card on the field. So keep in mind that is also a possible out. Okay, third card we want to talk about is Summon Breaker. It's a field card. During main phase 1, when the turn player summons for the 3rd time this turn, it becomes the end phase of this turn. It's pretty good. I was played against with Malefic stun deck, and the player used Summon Breaker, and I was pretty impressed until I figured out, you know, during the second main phase, what you can do is you can summon more than 3 times, and it won't be the end phase. So during the second main phase, you can go for Drago Sack and use Drago Sack's effect, tribute a token, destroy the field card, and not only do you destroy the field card, you'll be able to destroy the Malefic monster they have on the field as well. So it's not that bad, but definitely you cannot go into your battle phase this turn, so you can't do damage to the player who played Summon Breaker, but other than that, it's pretty good. Now we'll be talking about these 4 continuous trap cards over here: Imperial Iron Wall, Macrocosmos, Mind Drain, and Soul Drain. Imperial Iron Wall prevents them from removing monsters, so they can't pay the cost for the summoning of big dragons. That's pretty good. But keep in mind, MST, Blaster, those are still those are still things. And even when they have, like, they can't banish dragons, they can still use the baby dragons in their hand in order to special summon large dragons from their deck, because they just go to the graveyard when they're discarded. So in fact, it's not a complete answer, it's only a partial answer. Now, if you have Macrocosmos, it's the same thing. Now, you banished everything, but that's it. You banish all the dragons, they'll still activate their effects. The baby dragons, when you discard them, they can still activate their effects, and they can just get Drago Sack and destroy your Macrocosmos. What's good about Macrocosmos is the next turn, no dragons are in the graveyard, and if no dragons are in the graveyard, then you can actually prevent them from using their dragons, using their resources again. But it's still not a complete out. Alright, Third card we want to talk about, of course, is Mind Drain. Mind Drain is still pretty good too because it can prevent the effects to activate in the hand that start a chain. So what that means is the baby dragon effects in order to special summon from the deck. But keep in mind, if it's the late game and they have a lot of dragons in their graveyard and they can just banish dragons from the graveyard and just special summon the elemental dragons, then Mind Drain is actually pretty useless. So again, it is also not a one card auto win. The last card we want to talk about, of course, is Soul Drain. Of the set of these continuous trap cards, I feel like Soul Drain is the most complete one because it prevents the activation of effects in the graveyard and in the banished zone. But keep in mind, MSTs are a thing, Blaster is a thing, Baby Dragons are a thing, so they can still go for Dragosack and destroy your Soul Drain. But it will definitely slow down their play. The last two cards are Summon Limit and Vanity's Emptiness. These I've talked about in other segments, but I feel like they're very good against Incarnate Dragons as well, because Summon Limit prevents them from summoning more than twice, and Vanity's Emptiness prevents them from summoning at all. Now I want to talk about Mind Crush, because Mind Crush is actually pretty good against Incarnate Dragons if you use it right. Because they use Eclipse Wyvern in order to summon out the Light and Darkness Dragon, when they get the Light and Darkness Dragon by banishing the Eclipse Wyvern, you can activate Mind Crush and you can call Light and Darkness Dragon, discard it before they can tribute summon for it, and you can deal with the problem before it happens. So Mind Crush is definitely a good thing, and Mind Crush can work against the baby dragons as well. So when they reveal the baby dragon in their hand in order to try to discard another dragon, you can use Mind Crush, call the name of the baby dragon, they discard the baby dragon, and the effect does not resolve. So Mind Crush is definitely a good side deck card in this meta in general. Now we're going to talk about the side deck over here, the side set, and we're talking about this in the context of trying to beat the setup once they have already got their setup. And the setup, once again, of course, is Dragosack plus Light and Darkness Dragon. So how do you play out of it? You play out of it by tributing those two monsters and giving them a Lava Golem. They would probably cry. But the thing is, you give them a Lava Golem. And sure, it burns them for 1,000 damage during their standby phase, but they can use it and turn it against you, so it's kind of sad when you get a 3,000 attack monster attacking against you. You can also use Volcanic Queen, but keep in mind, you use Volcanic Queen like this. You don't tribute over the you don't tribute over the Light and Darkness Dragon. You should tribute over the Dragosack, because if you tribute over the Light and Darkness Dragon, they can just use the Dragosack's effect, get 2 tokens, and then use the tokens destroy the Volcanic Queen. If you tribute over the Dragosack, during their end phase, Volcanic Queen's effect will activate. It will attempt to burn them for 1,000 damage. Now, Light and Darkness Dragon will be forced to negate that effect. Fine, it is still the end phase. Volcanic Queen will still activate and attempt to resolve. Light and Darkness Dragon will still try to negate it. And during the end phase, they'll just rinse and repeat until Light and Darkness Dragon cannot do anymore, and your opponent takes 1,000 damage. So Volcanic Queen is pretty good. Same thing with these set of cards right here. The next 5 cards. So Lila, Medion, the Time Lord, Treeborn Frog, Tsukiyomi, and Xavier Pashul. Because they activate the effects during either the standby phase or the end phase, they will be able to waste the negating effects of Light and Darkness Dragon. So for example, Lila will be forced to try to mill 3 cards on the top of your deck during the end phase. So during the end phase, when that happens, Light and Darkness Dragon will try to negate it, sure. And then afterwards, it's still the end phase. Lila will still try to resolve the effect. It will get negated, rinse and repeat until the Light and Darkness Dragon is wasted. Same thing with Medion. Medion, the Time Lord, they have the effect where during your standby phase, it's going to return to the deck and it's going to waste Light and Darkness Dragon's effect. Same thing with Treeborn Frog, same thing with Tsukiyomi during the end phase, and same thing with Xavier Pashul during your opponent's standby phase. Now, the last card we're going to talk about is Fiendish Chain. Fiendish Chain is another out against Light and Darkness Dragon, but it's pretty minus because you go -1 with it. So, for example, you set another trap card like Mirror Force, and then you set Fiendish Chain. When they attack you, you activate Mirror Force, and then the Light and Darkness Dragon will be Chain Link 2, try to negate the Mirror Force, and then you can Chain Link 3 Fiendish Chain on the Light and Darkness Dragon. Light and Darkness Dragon cannot negate your Fiendish Chain. Fiendish Chain negates Light and Darkness Dragon. The Mirror Force is never negated, and the Mirror Force destroys both the Light and Darkness Dragon and the Dragosack, and you can get rid of the board. So yeah, those are all the answers that I came up with. I don't know if like they're good, because as you can see in the main deck, we have a lot of cards that are potentially slow, that can potentially slow down the elemental dragons, but they're not like the one card auto win. So feel free to drop a comment if you guys have any other suggestions on how to beat the elemental dragons. But other than that, this is Gary, gzduels, signing out.